Here's the argument that people can't hear until they understand what belief means. I'm doing this already. I can fly through the sky whenever I'm by myself. I fly through the sky all the time. But why do I fly through the sky? Because I love doing it. I've gone to every planet. I've made up my own planets and gone there. I've went inside video games. And see, the thing is, I see myself doing it, I feel myself doing it, but when I don't want to feel myself doing it, I don't. So it's that easy. It doesn't sound easy to anyone else because they don't believe they can. But that's because so set down in themselves, they still think that they're a human being. Well, here's the thing. You are a human being. But when you're a human being sitting in a car, you don't see yourself as just a car. You see yourself as a human being sitting in a car. So when you're sleeping and you don't pay attention to your body, and sometimes you forget that you're even there because your brain is unconscious, you don't realize that it takes so much to go back from the point that the original thing that was here wasn't here. It started with a being that is pure consciousness. Pure consciousness. Just thought. Nothing but. But that thought created a particle and a light. And it spun them around. And it started spinning them around, making all kinds of things. And as it spun them around, it already saw everything that's ever possible. And see, if we just keep going like this, we're just going to be a bunch of vehicles ruining the Earth body. But the Earth body is also an illusion of physical mass because it took that long for a human being to have mouth and the power of the word to tell what God really is. And yes, anyone could just come up and say this, but for someone to have the whole complete story and turn it into a game format, there's all kinds of extra stuff in there that makes no sense and has no reason at all to even find filler for. It's just people who had their dogma set in their head, running around, and they just kept going on it and going on it. Whoa, this is amazing. Look at this. I get enough people to believe me, and they'll see stuff. If I get people to believe me, enough of them, they'll see stuff. But somehow, some of those people out there, when all these people are believing and seeing me, some people aren't. Why is that? Because some people are so convinced in their head, in their brain. Their brain is what's seeing what everyone else is seeing. So when I go in my body or out of my body. I go inside my body even deeper, and I see what it was like when I was a cell. And I know what it was like to be a cell because I'm the only one who was ever a cell and experienced this consciously. And now I can teach people how to do it. But it's hard to do without the right words. So I have to look through the books that other versions of me in human bodies that have brains, that see their brain starts getting confused and thinking they're just a human body, instead of that they're a being in a body with a brain, using it. And that being is supposed to help all these other beings realize that at one point, a long, long time ago that we call history, which is also right now, but right now is ever expanding. So it just keeps stretching out without keeping time, but we keep time, so it keeps stretching out. And this is all something that I put in place to work at an exponential rate. As we grow, we grow. It's always round. I mean, I know because I made it. I am it. I was the invisible spot that before it appeared here. So how does this make sense that I'm saying it that makes sense to you? Because Dan is the only person who's ever cleared his mind, sat in the right place, in the right time, on the place you call Earth, which it doesn't matter where you sit. You could do it on the toilet. You could do it anywhere because you're just a body. And if you realize that you're just a body, or you're not just anything. You're magnificent. The human being is the most intelligent vehicle to use because now you're a vehicle with feeling and emotion that no other vehicle has. Those vehicles wish they could have feelings and emotion, sensation, They wish they could have that, Animals can, but they can't talk about it. They can sensate towards each other, and that's the only way they communicate. That's why they communicate. If that's all they had to do, and the only noises they can make, the only sounds they can produce, of course, That's how they communicate, because they have no other choice but to communicate that way. If a bat doesn't have ears, how does he develop radar? If a bat can't see, how does he develop radar? Because he has to, or else he won't ever be able to find food. If you never had eyes, you would have to find some way to get around without eyes. And you do. You just, what we call with eyes, develop radar. No, you just never had eyes. Or you had eyes and started learning how to live without them because you had to. You just sort of had to go on. Okay? But then in the midst of all that stuff, you believed that you could go on, but you also still believed that you were just a human being who didn't have the ability to see. But now that you've got this huge dogma upon yourself of blind, which, yes, you got a human body that was, deficient or malfunctioned, or you chose to do that as you came here because you wanted to experience what it was like to be blind. But sometimes your vibration doesn't know that, and because of your vibration, it matches you up with a body with a future that is going to be blind. So, is your future destined? Whatever you wanted to try out, or whatever you vibrationally matched up to before you decided to try it out, then I guess you can say it's destined. You start off as a sperm, and then from that point on, well, a sperm and an egg, if that's what you want to call it, you start off as me, and then just reproduce in all the ways that I know how. I know how to produce an egg. I know how to produce a sperm, and I know how to. You guys want to keep time, which is 9 months. That makes sense to physically represent the woman building, and how would the sperm? I mean, you got to believe that it's going to happen. It's just got to believe. How does the sperm build? Well, it has all these, scientific methods that they're trying to explain it with, and they're sitting around probing in with, these microscopes and all this kind of stuff, and it's actually so fascinating that we've come so far and have so many intelligent things to say. I mean, there's so many intelligent people out there. I mean, I'm so proud of us, because it's not just me, because you're hearing Dan, but it's not just God. It's everything that I have ever broken up into. I want everybody to take credit for themselves, because everybody is me. But Dan's the only one who understands how to really explain it, because he's the only one who was there when I made it. So, see, along the way, in this thing we call time, there were these other invisible blips that now have physical property, that had brains and a body and a vehicle, that didn't believe that they could live forever, and didn't believe that they could shoot fire out of their hands, and didn't believe that they could do that. You know what I mean? And it took a long time for them to truly believe it in themselves, that their human body could do it, because they had to, first of all, find a way to see it in themselves, and then have somebody else see it in them, or build up themselves to find a way to do it. And this is how I made it. So I'm not going to tell you exactly how I set rules in the human body so that you could do certain things. Like, you can fly easily because now I made up the rules. No one else knows the rules, and I know the rules, actually. I know how everything got bound into the rocks, and how everything got bound into these things and those things, and I don't need to explain them down to the detail. But let me tell you that the people who think life is nothing, they get to be a rock. They just get to sit there. Their next life, well, they're not going to die in a human body and then just turn around and come back into Earth, where they think Earth looks like, because to your actual being, that is invisible essence of light and particle, you are nowhere. What you would consider as a human being, you'd say nowhere. But then wherever your vibrational frequency takes your being of essence of light, goes to the next place. And however far you decide to evolve yourself to and get to whatever body position you're in, then bam, there you are. You start off as a particle, if that's what you equal frequency-wise. You'll go to a rock, you'll go to a crab, you'll go to a something. And how does that end up working when other people are like, no way? Well, because people believe that life goes on, and some people just know that there's reincarnation. Other people don't think so, but other people know for sure, because they've done this over and over and over and over and over again. Just like Dan Alexander. See, Dan Alexander's physical representation of his body hasn't done this over and over again, because none of those bodies realized that they could live forever until Dan. And now he has seen himself exponentially going on into the future, and he said 318 because he wants to make sure that he can make a bailout point if he has to. And like he has the automatic clause of letting go and just dying at 80 if he just gives up on himself, but he's not going to give up on himself. He believes in himself so much that other people will believe him because he's me, and I know he can do it because I know the human body can do it. It's just in order for him to believe in himself enough, because he already believes in himself. He can see it. He can do it when he's alone. But if someone else is around, his vibrational frequency pattern won't allow it because their belief system, like, penetrates the whole, what you call, universe, because it's just what you think, because throughout time, all the rocks and all the whatever is consciousness until the next being, until the next being, until the next being, until the next being, until the next animal, until the next nightmare creature, until the next pixelated creature, until the next human being that started inventing all these things, although before there was human beings, there was plenty of other civilizations and mythological creatures and dragons, but you call them mythological because no way that could happen, we're human beings. Well, those mythological creatures, they had the same abilities as you, but they never ever found out that this was the truth. And when some of them found out the truth, they got to the fact of belief. They knew that they could do anything they willed their mind to do, but at the same time, the only problem is that they didn't know how to love and accept people for disagreeing with them. And they always had to prove themselves. The only sin in the world is proof. And see, the other people that are making all these things, like Dan was watching stuff on YouTube, and I'm in him watching, So he was watching stuff on YouTube, and I hear conversations with God. I was there. I gave him that conversation. Dan heard it before he heard the thing. And as he heard it, he remembered hearing it, not just some slick little pun. He remembered hearing it and thought it was weird that he heard that before. And he was like, I was going to say those kind of things. Well, because Dan, your vehicle didn't get that message yet, and you said it that way. You didn't have enough time to go through and set enough things for yourself to revisit and see. But now you're having 50,000 coincidences a day. That's not a coincidence. How many synchronicities can one have? I don't know. Why did you start having 3 1s and 8s pop up with Cindy? Because she believed in you. But then you ruined it. Now she won't believe anything you say. Does this all make sense to you? Well, this is so crazy. I'm talking back and forth to myself, and it makes complete sense. And God, you are amazing. I mean, I'm looking at you everywhere, and you're watching me. I mean, all the celestial beings that you've divided into that basically pixelize or particleize or crystallize into whatever shape they need to in order to hold structure for people to think it's there in a dense form. It's so amazing. I can't wait to learn from you. I'm learning from you. So as I remember and as I think, you're showing me how you created it. And it's so weird. It's such a weird thing to think something and immediately get the answer. It just takes a little time to sit and know, or to find a person that has the track that goes back from there, that believes that I can. Because if they don't believe that I can, it shuts it off immediately. You need to know a little bit of something about the past of somebody. You can't read their minds just yet until you start believing in yourself that you can. And then once you do it a couple times, you'll believe in yourself that you can, and you won't need even to hold a card or an item or whatever. Everything needs practice, because most people don't break the barrier of realizing they can absolutely do anything or else they'll do it too soon. And if they do it too soon, they freak themselves out. That's why they say Kundalini can happen too soon. Because once you realize that you can actually think yourself into an orgasm, that's pretty weird. But it's actually not weird at all, because it's all mind. And if you can sensate some out from in the air, and you can close your eyes and imagine something so well that you can formulate it to physically, or at least sensationally, audiosentience, whatever they call it, autosentience. It doesn't even matter if you say it right, because you didn't make up the words, but you did then, and you don't feel like taking the time. I mean, you're not lazy. I'm not calling you lazy, Dan, but you're not going to take the time, and I've heard you say this 1,000 times, and I'm not going to take the time to, do things that aren't going to help us evolve as people, because that won't help us evolve as people. People have to let go of the fact that they have a past. And they have to forgive those past things. And that's why people say past. the past is whatever. Your mother who is so horrible to you, even the mother that's horrible to you right now, that mother right there, right now, doesn't have to understand this, but forgive them, even if they continue to be horrible, because they're just misusing their brain inside their human vehicle. I don't know how else to say it in human words. It's your human vehicle. I mean, I've said it, I could say it through someone else's brain, but Dan's, is creative enough, and he's getting tired. He's been up for a couple of days, and he still hasn't learned how to do the whole stay up without sleeping completely, but he should see how long this guy stays up. Anyway, it's funny what I'm going to say. I'm going to give it back to him, because now he and I, he allows me to go 49-51% thing that we do, and sometimes he'll just click the meter in the middle. He envisioned this thing in his head and finally learned how to control God in his body. Nobody has ever done this. Nobody has ever been this fascinating. And while he's looking around, I'm letting him see geometric patterns forming in front of him, just everywhere. And the ping in his head, he doesn't need to tune it in anymore, but if he loses track of us and forgets, and starts going back to Dan-ness and acting like Dan all the time, and, if he does that, then he has to find us again, and the way he finds us is again, then ping, we give him the ping, and he just says, oh, there you are. I thought I lost you. And he did that for a long time, for the first few months. Some of his old recordings that he doesn't even know that I said, which is really funny, because when he listens to it, I'm like, holy shit, I knew some weird, crazy shit and didn't even remember it, because I've been learning so much, I couldn't even pay attention. That's what he'll say to people, but, I know that because I was there when he says it, but it's not his fault. I am going to let him talk again. God signing off. That's funny. It's like I don't have to breathe between and catch my breath, but it's like I have to be like, is this me again? Because you're still in here with me right now. Can I click you back to 49? All right. That's funny. It's like I'm talking in my head. I could say these things out loud to you, but it doesn't make sense. And they're all happening at the craziest time. I can have a whole conversation in time, but I need space-time to explain them. The things that are happening, I work so much, I don't have space-time to explain them. And sometimes I don't feel like it. Just because I can channel God and just because I can channel spirits doesn't mean that's all I want to do. I've already seen myself live forever. And if other people don't believe that I can, I lose faith in myself and I die. It's that simple. If you believe you can live forever, whether other people believe it or not, you will. Deep down, you just will. So, I love you guys. And I'm going to let Dan do his orders. See, now we're 50-50. This is really weird. All right, peace.